Basically, he had extremely little amount of brain. The rest of the head was just full of fluid.
The human body is incredible, but sometimes it defies every rule we think we know. Some babies are born without brains. Others grow bark-like skin. From a man living with a fist-sized hole in his head to a woman too tall for doorways, these real people live with conditions so rare, most doctors never see them in a lifetime. How did a child with just 2% of a brain become a science prodigy? And who had to fight tumors that weighed more than his head? Join us as we explore real stories of people born with truly rare conditions. Noah Wall. When doctors first saw Noah Wall's brain scans, they delivered crushing news to his parents. The baby had severe spina bifida and hydrocephalus, with only 2% of his brain present. Medical experts warned he wouldn't survive birth, and if he did, he'd have no quality of life. They recommended ending the pregnancy multiple times. Shelley and Rob Wall from England refused to give up on their son. Noah was born in March 2012, and against all odds, he breathed on his own. Surgeons immediately closed the opening in his spine and installed a shunt to drain excess fluid from his brain. What happened next shocked the medical world. Noah's brain started growing. By age 3, scans showed his brain had expanded to nearly 80% of normal size. Doctors now believe the brain tissue had been compressed by fluid buildup in the womb. Once that pressure was relieved, his brain began developing properly. Today, Noah is a bright, curious kid who loves science and math. He even performed at London's Royal Albert Hall and works as an ambassador for disability awareness. Another baby defied impossible odds with even more severe brain damage. Jackson Buell was born in Orlando, Florida, in 2014 with microhydranencephaly, a devastating brain malformation. Unlike Noah Wall's compressed brain tissue, Jackson was missing about 80% of his brain and skull entirely. The condition occurs when brain tissue fails to develop properly during pregnancy, leaving massive gaps where healthy neural matter should exist. Doctors told parents, Brandon and Brittany Buell, their son had days to live at most. The medical team explained that microhydranencephaly typically results in immediate death or vegetative states. Most babies with this condition don't survive the delivery process. Jackson proved everyone wrong. He lived for over 5 years, becoming an internet sensation known as Jackson Strong. His parents documented his journey on social media, showing him smiling, making sounds, and responding to his environment. These achievements seemed impossible given his brain structure. Jackson underwent multiple surgeries and required constant care, but his family never lost hope. When Jackson passed away peacefully in April 2020, he had already changed how doctors view severe brain malformations. Not all rare conditions begin at birth or in hospitals. Joseph Williams. Joseph Williams was born with agnathia, a rare congenital condition where the lower jaw fails to develop during pregnancy. This malformation affects roughly 1 in 70,000 births and creates severe complications for basic survival functions like breathing, eating, and speaking. Without a mandible, Joseph's tongue sits differently in his mouth, making speech extremely difficult. Most people with agnathia require feeding tubes because normal swallowing becomes nearly impossible. The condition also affects facial structure, creating a distinctive appearance that can draw unwanted attention. Doctors typically recommend immediate surgical intervention for babies born with agnathia. Joseph learned to communicate through sign language and adaptive techniques. His family worked with speech therapists and medical specialists to develop strategies for daily activities. The condition requires ongoing medical care and regular adjustments as facial bones continue growing during development. Living with agnathia means constant adaptation. Simple activities like drinking water or chewing food become complex challenges requiring specialized equipment and techniques. Joseph's experience shows how rare facial malformations impact every aspect of daily life. While some face jaw challenges, others deal with facial gaps. Xiao Hui Kong. Xiao Hui Kong was born in 2009 in China's Hunan province with transverse facial cleft, an extremely rare birth defect that creates large gaps extending from the mouth corners toward the ears. This condition affects fewer than 1 in 300,000 births and results from incomplete fusion of facial tissues during early pregnancy development. The clefts gave Xiao Hui Kong's face an unusual appearance that some described as having two faces or wearing a mask. Unlike common cleft lip conditions, transverse facial clefts involve deeper tissue separation that affects multiple facial structures, including muscles, nerves, and bone alignment. His mother discovered the condition only after birth, despite multiple prenatal ultrasounds showing no abnormalities. The family faced social stigma from their community, with some people suggesting they abandon the child. Instead, his parents chose to seek medical help for their son. In 2010, Xiao Hui Kong underwent 2 major reconstructive surgeries at a military hospital in Changsha. Doctors had to carefully rebuild damaged facial bones and reconnect soft tissues across the gaps. The procedures required precise work to restore both function and appearance. The surgeries cost approximately 400,000 yuan, funded largely through public donations. While successful, doctors warned that normal facial bone growth would take years to determine. Facial reconstruction helps some, but others face bones forming everywhere. Ashley Kerpil. Ashley Kerpil lives with fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva, a genetic disorder that turns soft tissues into bone and cartilage. FOP affects fewer than 1,000 people worldwide and causes the body's repair system to malfunction. When muscles, tendons, or ligaments get damaged, they form bone instead of healing normally. The condition creates a second skeleton that gradually restricts movement. Extra bones grow across joints, essentially fusing body parts over time. People with FOP often lose the ability to move their arms, legs, jaw, and spine as these unwanted bones develop. Ashley was diagnosed at a young age after doctors initially mistook her condition for cancerous tumors. At 3 years old, she underwent amputation of her right arm and shoulder before medical teams realized they were dealing with FOP. Surgery actually makes the condition worse by triggering more bone formation. Ashley adapted by learning to surf with a modified board and later received a myoelectric prosthetic arm to help with daily tasks. Ashley works as an advocate, educating people about the condition and connecting families to support resources. Up next is another rare case. Sem Mumtaz Sain Mumtaz from Pakistan lives with Proteus syndrome, a rare genetic disorder that causes asymmetric overgrowth of bones, skin, and other tissues. The condition affects fewer than 200 people worldwide and creates dramatic differences in body proportions as affected areas continue growing throughout life. Proteus syndrome typically becomes visible during early childhood when certain body parts begin enlarging disproportionately. In Sain's case, his head, hands, and feet have grown significantly larger than normal. Unlike regular growth that stops in adulthood, Proteus syndrome causes continuous expansion in affected tissues. Sain's enlarged head and extremities create daily challenges for basic activities like walking, writing, or finding properly fitting clothes and shoes. The extra weight from overgrown tissues puts strain on joints and muscles not designed to support such mass. Treatment focuses mainly on managing symptoms rather than curing the condition. Surgeries can remove excess tissue temporarily, but regrowth often occurs. Physical therapy helps maintain mobility as much as possible given the body's changing structure. While some face uncontrolled growth, what happens when you battle the opposite extreme? Tom Stanford. Tom Stanford was born with MDP syndrome, a mitochondrial disorder so rare that only a handful of cases exist worldwide. This condition prevents his body from storing fat under the skin, leaving him with an extremely lean appearance and visible bone structure. MDP syndrome affects how cells produce energy, causing muscle weakness, joint stiffness, and brittle bones. Most people with this condition struggle with basic physical activities. Stanford's body cannot maintain normal fat levels no matter how much he eats. His face appears gaunt and angular, while his limbs show every bone and muscle clearly. The syndrome also causes hearing loss and type 2 diabetes, adding more complications to daily life. His joints remain stiff, making movement difficult and painful. Despite these physical limitations, Stanford became a competitive cyclist. He adapted his training methods to work with his condition rather than against it. Through careful preparation and modified techniques, he built enough strength to compete at high levels. In 2011, he won the National Paracycling Circuit Race Championship in the United Kingdom. Stanford's success required constant adjustments to his equipment and racing strategy. His lightweight frame, while challenging in many ways, provided certain advantages in cycling competitions. Some athletes overcome physical limits, while others redefine them completely. Zion Clark. Zion Clark was born with caudal regression syndrome, a rare condition that prevents the lower spine and legs from developing properly. This happens when the tailbone area of the spine fails to form during pregnancy. People with this condition are typically born without legs or with severely underdeveloped lower limbs. The syndrome affects roughly 1 in 60,000 births. Clark's body ends at his torso, requiring him to use his hands and arms for all movement. He walks on his hands and has developed extraordinary upper body strength through years of adaptation. His daily activities like getting dressed, using the bathroom, and moving around require creative solutions and physical techniques most people never consider. Clark became a competitive wrestler in high school, competing against opponents with full bodies. He developed unique techniques that used his low center of gravity and powerful arms as advantages. His wrestling style focused on takedowns and ground control, areas where his build provided benefits rather than limitations. Beyond wrestling, Clark set multiple world records, including the fastest 20-meter walk on hands. He also competes in wheelchair racing and has trained in mixed martial arts. His athletic career expanded into bodybuilding, where his upper body development rivals that of traditional competitors. Clark holds several Guinness World Records for his hand-walking speed and other physical achievements. While some master movement without legs, others navigate towering heights. Rumeysa Gelgi. Rumeysa Gelgi stands 7 feet and 0.7 inches tall, making her the world's tallest living woman. Her extraordinary height comes from Weaver syndrome, a rare genetic condition that causes accelerated bone growth and skeletal abnormalities. This syndrome affects fewer than 50 people worldwide and typically leads to rapid growth during childhood and adolescence. Weaver syndrome disrupts normal bone development, causing bones to grow much faster and longer than usual. People with this condition often develop distinctive facial features, including a broad forehead and widely spaced eyes. The syndrome can also cause intellectual disabilities and delayed motor skills, though severity varies between individuals. Gelgi's height creates daily challenges that most people never consider. Standard doorways are too short, requiring her to duck constantly. Regular furniture becomes unusable, and she needs custom-made beds, chairs, and clothing. Public transportation presents difficulties since airplane seats and car interiors cannot accommodate her frame comfortably. She uses a wheelchair for longer distances because walking puts enormous strain on her joints and spine. Her condition makes her bones more fragile, increasing the risk of fractures from simple activities. Finding shoes in her size requires special orders, and even basic tasks like using ATMs or reaching items on shelves become complicated. Despite these obstacles, Gelgi works as a web developer and advocates for people with visible differences. Some conditions create towering frames, while others produce massive extremities. Jeff Dabe. Jeff Dabe has hands that measure 12 inches in length, more than twice the size of average adult hands. His condition is called macrodactyly, a rare disorder that causes abnormal growth of fingers and surrounding soft tissues. This condition typically affects only one or two fingers, but Dabe's case involves both entire hands, making it extremely unusual. Macrodactyly occurs when excess tissue grows around the bones and joints of the fingers. The enlarged digits contain normal bone structure, but with significantly more muscle, fat, and connective tissue wrapped around them. This extra tissue makes the hands heavy and can limit fine motor control, though Dabe has adapted remarkably well to his condition. His hands weigh considerably more than normal hands, requiring extra arm and shoulder strength for daily use. Simple tasks like writing, typing, or buttoning clothes need modified techniques. Gloves must be custom-made, and most tools require adaptation or replacement with specially designed versions. Dabe works as an arm wrestler, where his enlarged hands provide significant advantages. His grip strength far exceeds that of typical competitors, and the size of his hands makes it difficult for opponents to maintain their hold. He has competed in numerous arm wrestling competitions, using his unique anatomy as a competitive edge, rather than viewing it as a limitation. While some have oversized hands, others simply have more fingers. Devendra Suthar. Devendra Suthar has 28 digits total, with 7 fingers on each hand and 7 toes on each foot. His condition is called polydactyly, which means having extra fingers or toes beyond the normal 5 per hand or foot. This occurs in roughly 1 in every 500 births, but having 7 digits on all 4 limbs is extremely rare. Polydactyly happens when the genes that control finger and toe development create additional digits during pregnancy. Most cases involve just 1 extra finger or toe, usually a small, underdeveloped digit. Suthar's case is unusual because all his extra digits are fully formed and functional, with their own bones, joints, and muscles. Working as a carpenter, Suthar has learned to use his extra fingers as tools. The additional digits help him grip materials more securely and manipulate small objects with greater precision than people with standard hands. His 7 fingers can wrap around wooden planks and tools in ways that provide extra stability and control. Finding gloves presents a constant challenge since manufacturers only make 5-finger designs. Suthar often works barehanded or cuts holes in regular gloves to accommodate his extra digits. His shoes must be custom-made to fit his 7-toed feet, as standard footwear cannot provide proper support or comfort for his unique foot structure. Extra fingers create unique advantages, but some conditions bring challenges. Huang Chunchai. Huang Chunchai was born with neurofibromatosis, a genetic disorder that causes tumors to grow along nerve pathways throughout the body. In his case, massive tumors developed on his face, creating growths that eventually weighed over 33 pounds. These tumors are not cancerous, but continue growing throughout a person's life without treatment. Neurofibromatosis affects roughly 1 in 3,000 people, though most cases are much milder than Huang's. The condition disrupts how cells divide and grow, leading to benign tumors that can appear anywhere nerves are present. When tumors grow on facial nerves, they can cause severe disfigurement and functional problems. The weight of Huang's facial tumors made basic activities extremely difficult. Eating required careful positioning to prevent choking, and speaking became nearly impossible as the growths pressed against his throat and mouth. The tumors also affected his vision and hearing by putting pressure on surrounding tissues. Huang underwent multiple surgeries to remove portions of the tumors, though complete removal proved impossible due to their extensive growth around vital nerves and blood vessels. Each operation carried significant risks, as surgeons had to work around critical facial structures while removing as much tumor tissue as safely possible. While some face tumor growth, others battle excessive hair everywhere. Jesus Aceves. Jesus Aceves was born with hypertrichosis, a rare genetic condition that causes thick hair to grow all over the body and face. This disorder affects fewer than 100 people worldwide and occurs when hair follicles that normally produce fine, barely visible hair instead create thick, dark strands. The condition earned him the nickname Wolfman due to his appearance. Hypertrichosis comes in different forms, but Aceves had the generalized type, meaning hair covered most of his body, including areas where hair typically doesn't grow. His face, arms, back, and chest were covered in dense, dark hair that continued growing throughout his life. Regular shaving provided only temporary relief before the hair returned. Growing up in Mexico, Aceves faced constant staring and cruel comments from people who had never seen his condition before. Many children and adults feared him based solely on his appearance. Rather than hiding away, he chose to join traveling circuses, where his unique look became his profession. Circus audiences paid to see performers with unusual traits, and Aceves found steady work entertaining crowds across different countries. His performances allowed him to support his family while turning his rare condition into a career advantage. Some grow hair everywhere, while others develop skin like tree bark. Abul Bajandar. Abul Bajandar developed massive growths on his hands and feet that resembled tree bark, earning him the nickname Tree Man. His condition is called epidermodysplasia verruciformis, an extremely rare genetic disorder that makes the immune system unable to fight off certain types of human papillomavirus. This allows wart-like growths to spread uncontrollably across the skin. The condition affects fewer than 200 people worldwide. Normal immune systems can usually control these viruses, but people with epidermodysplasia verruciformis lack this ability. The growths start small, but can eventually cover large portions of the body, becoming thick and bark-like in texture. Bajandar's hands became so covered in growths that he could barely use his fingers. The thick, rough skin made it impossible to hold objects or perform basic tasks like eating without assistance. His feet also developed similar growths, making walking painful and difficult. He underwent more than 25 surgeries to remove the bark-like skin from his hands and feet. Doctors had to carefully cut away pounds of excess tissue while trying to preserve the underlying muscles and bones. Even after successful surgeries, the growths often returned because his immune system remained unable to control the underlying viral infection. Which of these stories shocked you the most, and why? Have you ever encountered someone with a rare condition? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.